you really wish to get more than band score 7 in your IELTS speaking, then you must be well updated with the 4 marking criteria that has been officially provided by the IELTS band descriptor. So in today's video, we are discussing those marking criteria itself. Let's begin with the first one. The first marking criteria is known as fluency and coherence. The second marking criteria is known as lexical resource. The third marking criteria is known as grammatical range and accuracy. And the last marking criteria is known as pronunciation. These are the 4 marking criteria that will be strictly checked when you are speaking in your IELTS speaking test. What happens is, each marking criteria will contain 25% of your total score in IELTS. And you will be receiving band score 0 to 9 in each of this criteria, and the total band score will be the band score of your IELTS speaking. It means that the factor that will be determining your overall score in your IELTS speaking is this 4 marking criteria, as you will be getting separate band score in each of the criteria. So that's the reason you will have to work very hard in particular marking criteria. So in today's class, we are learning this itself. So let's begin with the first marking criteria, that is fluency and coherence. Fluency means your ability to talk without showing much pauses or hesitation. However, if you are non-native English speaker, then it is natural for you to pause. In that case, in order to cover your pauses, you could use fillers. There are different fillers to use in IELTS speaking. Some of the fillers are like, as you know, well. So these are some of the fillers that could cover your pauses. However, it's always better to not show pauses or hesitation when you are answering to a particular question. Moving on to coherence. Now coherence means logically organizing your ideas, and your ideas should also be connected. When the examiner will ask you the question, you will have to first understand the question and then give a logical answer. For example, let's take this one as an example. I brushed my teeth, I woke up. Now, do you think these 2 sentences are logically organized? Of course not. These 2 sentences are not logically organized, because at first you woke up and then only you will brush your teeth. So, I woke up, I brushed my teeth. Now, this sentence can be said as logically organized sentence. Okay, so this should also be seen in your IELTS speaking. And the another thing that comes in coherence is connected words, connected sentence. So now, is this sentence connected? Of course not. There are 2 separate sentences and it is not connected. So in coherence, your answer should be connected as well. So in order to make it connected, we could just add I woke up and I brushed my teeth. Now it is connected. So this is what fluency and coherence is. Fluency means talking in a natural tone without showing pauses or hesitation. Coherence means organizing your ideas logically. Now let's move on to the second marking criteria, that is lexical resource, which is also known as vocabulary. IELTS will want you to use wide or sufficient range of vocabulary. There are basically 2 types of vocabulary. First is common vocabulary, second is complex vocabulary. Common vocabulary are those vocabulary which you often use in your daily life. For example, the example of common vocabulary are increasing, wise. Now moving on to complex vocabulary. Complex vocabulary are those vocabulary which are not quite common in our society, which are quite complex in its own. For example, the complex form of increase could be burgeoning. The complex vocabulary of wise could be prudent. So IELTS will want you to have sufficient range of complex vocabulary when you are talking, not common. Okay. So practice at least 10 new sets of complex vocabulary each day. So at the time of your speaking, you could use at least 7 to 8 complex vocabulary. The another thing that comes in lexical resource is the use of idioms and phrasal verbs. I will be making a separate video to discuss idioms and phrasal verbs, so stay tuned for that. Now, grammatical range and accuracy is our third marking criteria. Inside this criteria, there are basically 3 things that will be strictly checked. Okay. The first thing is tenses. Second thing is sentence formation. And the last one is basic grammar rules. These are the 3 things that will be checked inside this criteria. Okay. So many students often choose safe side and they speak grammatically correct words or sentences by only using simple tenses. Okay. However, it is a safe side. It will not help you to get higher band score. So in order to, if you are targeting higher band score, then try to use mix of all those 12 tenses wherever possible. Okay. Moving on to second one, sentence formation. Inside IELTS there are 3 types of sentence: simple sentence, compound sentence and complex sentence. You will have to use all these sentence in order to get good band score in this criteria. I will also be discussing about sentence formation in my next video. Last but not the least, grammar rules means you should have a very decent knowledge about preposition, noun, verb, adverb and each and everything which is directly or indirectly related to grammar. So if I had to sum up grammatical range and accuracy, practice all those 12 tenses, practice sentence, all those type of sentences and be strong with your grammar. Then you are good to go with this criteria. Moving on to the last marking criteria, that is pronunciation. Inside pronunciation, you will have to spell words accurately. And the second thing is, you do not need to have either American accent or British accent to get higher score. You are good to go if you could speak very carefully and your words are accurately listened by the examiner. Also, there are 2 things that will be checked inside pronunciation. Those are sentence stress and intonation. The work of intonation is to convey your mood, whereas the work of sentence stress is to highlight specific words in a sentence. I will be discussing about intonation and stress in my next video. For example, let's assume one thing, you have used very nice complex vocabulary. Okay, in this case you might score band score 6.5. Similarly, you spoke very fluently, 6.5 band score. However, you only score 6 and 6 in rest of the 2 marking criteria. If we calculate this 4 marking criteria, then you will be receiving overall band score 6.5 in your IELTS speaking. So it means that working very hard in a particular marking criteria will help you to get very nice band score in an overall perspective. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much.